Your life.
Good morning, everybody. Well, good afternoon and happy Sunday. Happy Sunday to everyone. It's such a beautiful day here. The sunshine is just beating down on us all. And I guess just magnifying the gratitude that we've been feeling over the last couple of days with Thanksgiving and all of the other things going on, maybe even getting together, whether it's in person or virtually with our family, and realizing that so many of the changes in our lives and being, grateful for them and feeling them on such a different level of gratitude. So we'd love to welcome you this morning. My name is Mickey, and I am one of the co-founders of Conscious Life Collective with Julia. And we have our special guest, Michael Ocher, who is a Kabbalah teacher and spiritual advisor as well. And so I'd love for you two to take it away.
Thank you, Mickey. Thank you for the introduction. And what a beautiful day, at least where we are in New York and in Connecticut, and you can see the sun coming right through. So today is an amazing opportunity to connect to the energy of the full moon in Gemini, and that's what we want to talk to you about. And also to talk to you about the purpose of our limitations. So like nobody's asking for limitations. Nobody wants limitations. Nobody says, hey, I'm on the line. Give me my limitations first and give me a lot of them. But they have a very particular purpose in our lives, and they help us grow. And facing our limitations and knowing how to be with them. It's more about being with them rather than what you do with them. Is the art, and is a different level of consciousness. And that's what I would love Michael to guide us through today and opening this conversation. Take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mickey. Thank you, Julia. Thank you for the welcoming. Hi, everyone. Happy holidays. Happy Thanksgiving. A really beautiful day on the East Coast. And a lot of things to be grateful for and appreciating and having awe for things that we have. And like Mickey mentioned, either virtually or in person, being with people that we love and, expanding our appreciation more and more for people that we're surrounded by. And we are, as Julia mentioned, we are in the month of Sagittarius, and we are seeing what kind of energy is available this week. What do we want to know, be prepared for, and kind of use an opportunity, just like what kind of energy is being broadcasted in the universe, from the planetary aspect, from the spiritual Kabbalistic aspect, from many different aspects, to put it all together and see how we can benefit more, how we can grow. Because we want to know, we always want to remember that whatever happens is happening for our benefit. Nothing in this world happens against us, actually. Everything that happens in this world is only happening to you because it's good for us, for me and you, for everyone. So there is no such thing as a negative event. There's only a perspective that doesn't allow us to see how it is good for us. So this is a very high level of spiritual consciousness that gurus achieve and people with very high level of consciousness achieve, and that's something we want to strive for also. And one of the things that usually in life a person would love not to have is things that limit us, like Julia said, right? Like things that limit us, either, when there's so many different things, each and every single one of us has different forms of how we assume that we might be limited. But in reality, Kabbalistically, there is no such thing as limitations. We are absolutely infinite beings of consciousness that have no limits. And the only limit is the one we place on ourselves. And the limitations that I would like to talk about is the ones that we assume that as our shortcomings, or things of our reactive nature, or things like we assume that makes us less than other people, that we are not as good as somebody else. Now, if we look at the big picture of things, because we always want to see what's the big picture, right? There's always the detail, and then there's the big picture. So if you look at the big picture of the reason why a human being might have a limitation, is actually to help them become the better version of themselves. No athlete, no great human being, none of us can achieve greatness, can achieve true happiness, unless we have some form of quote unquote limitation that makes us think that, oh, this is something, if I will conquer this, then I'm going to be a better version of myself. If I will overcome this, then I will be the better version of myself. And this is true. We want to understand that if you will, first of all, identify, realize that this is a limitation, that this is something that limits me from having more happiness in my life, from having more connection with other human beings, from doing what I truly want to do. This is step one. And then actually, we'll talk about other steps of how to go to the next level, next phase of that. We are going to be much happier people. There's so many examples of people facing hardship, experiencing very difficult situations in their life, and choosing to remain proactive, choosing to remain positive, choosing to remain happy, even in those situations. And they actually realize in the long term that that situation actually taught them and gave them something priceless. It's a very interesting and funny example, but gravity, for example. You know, if you want to build muscle, you think that you need equipment, you think that you need, time, and you do need all that stuff, right? You need the understanding how to do it, etc. But actually, an essential force to help you grow is the force of gravity, something that pulls against you. So when I pull that weight up, the gravity is pulling it down. And that's what actually helps me grow. So we want to connect to this very, very big picture consciousness of understanding that any form of limitation, of shortcoming that you have is actually a form of spiritual growth. Because spiritual growth doesn't necessarily happen just from meditation, forgiveness, etc. I mean, those are obviously very important parts of spiritual growth. But you grow spiritually the most when you identify what kind of limiting or reactive behavior is especially connected to you. Meaning, what is it something that you have a limiting belief of, right? So when you identify it, and every single one of us has a different one, and some people might have an opposite one. Some people might have a very big ego, thinking that they're the best thing that happened to this world, and in a way it is true. But also remembering that there's a creator, and there's other people, and there's unity in something that we need to experience and respect other people. And then there's other people who are the other extreme, who are extremely humble and way too giving to other people and have no ego at all whatsoever. So this is both obviously a disbalance, right? And the beautiful thing is that both people need to strive for balance. Meaning, if I have way too much ego, thinking that I am this ultimate being, I'm the God of this universe, then I need to become more and more humble. If I'm way too humble, then I need to learn to appreciate myself. If I'm too shy, I need to be able to learn to speak up. If I'm way too outspoken, I need to maybe learn to be a little bit more quiet. If I'm very intellectual, have a lot of wisdom in me, maybe I need to learn to be more emotional. If I'm way too emotional, maybe I need to learn to be more intellectual and more conscious of everything that happens to me. If I have anger issues, a lot of people have anger, have things that really make them upset, and everyone does, right? Not a lot of people. Every single one of us has some sort of thing that, quote unquote, ticks us, that makes us angry. That's actually a place where you can learn about yourself more, where you can ask yourself questions. Why does that make me so angry? What is so awful with that behavior that makes me angry? And obviously you can say, what do you mean? It's not fair, it's not just, etc. that's not the point. The point of spirituality is that whenever I'm taking out of equilibrium, whenever I'm taking out of inner balance, peace, and tranquility, that's a sign that that means I need to grow spiritually in that area. So as logical as it might sound, that yes, you know, of course, when your kids don't clean up, or of course, when your partner is late and doesn't text you or call you, that is very upsetting, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Many, many different reasons. But there's actually no reason to get angry or upset. There's no such thing. There's no, as much as we've been taught that, you know, getting angry and upset is a good thing, there is no good reason to be upset. The only loser in that situation is actually you. You're losing energy. You're losing energy. You're losing consciousness. You're losing your connection. You are in the loss. However, there's also the good side of it, is if I'm proactive and I look at it spiritually, then I see, oh, okay, this makes me upset. So how can I use this situation to find out what is it exactly within me that makes me so upset about these people? And there's many different reasons, but that consciousness already is a very powerful way of looking at life. And Sagittarius, we're in a month of Sagittarius. We're continuing our journey in this amazing, very powerful, miraculous month of learning, of adventure, of growth, of competing with ourselves. You know, there's so many positive attributes. And as we've talked about, one of the things that we want to especially emphasize that will help us have all this is the aspect of emotions, is the aspect of being emotionally open, connecting to our emotions, feeling what we're going through, being vulnerable, having an open heart. Those are the beautiful things that, you know, that if we are able to achieve that in this month also, we are going to have an incredible year ahead of us. And so limitations, and also there is an energy this week that I really want to mention, the energy of discovering our limitations, going deeper. And basically the Kabbalists actually call it the opposing force that's telling you, no, don't worry about it, snooze a little bit more. Don't worry, have another piece of cake. You don't have to exercise today. Meditation is boring. Watch something on Netflix. Don't text the person. Don't worry about it. They're okay. You know, you don't have to do anything with them. Oh, you said you have to do this project. Don't worry about it. You can do it later, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this is each and every single one of us, just like our DNA is completely unique to every single human being on this planet. The same way our spiritual opponent, meaning our limiting force, is also completely unique to each and every single one of us. And it's an art. Kabbalists consider it's one of the most important part of your spiritual work, of our spiritual development in this world, is to identify what kind of an opponent do you have. His main job, his number one step, number one mission is, first of all, to make you believe that he doesn't exist. Make you realize, make you think that he is actually you. So just like I'm telling you, like right now, for example, I love to snooze, you know, in the morning. You know, I love to set my alarm for 6:15 a.m., but you know, I might hit the snooze button a few times. And in my mind, I'm gonna think, oh, that's something that I want at that moment, right? I want more sleep. I want to sleep more. I need to rest more, etc. However, I need to understand that actually I have this force called the opponent. In Kabbalistic terms, it's called the Satan, which actually doesn't mean an entity with horns and a fork. It just means an opposing force. And just like you need in any good game, you want an opposing force to have a fun game. Same way in life, we have this opposing force that actually makes our life much more interesting. He's actually one of the biggest ingredients in anyone's spiritual growth. But the number one step is, first of all, to understand that there is this force. Number two is to start to identify what kind of an opponent do I have? What does he tell me to do? This is a very, very, very special aspect of spirituality that once you step into it and once you start to delve deeper into it, and it's something that requires, it's not a simple thing. It's a pretty advanced concept, and it requires effort from our side, meaning it requires effort from me to sit with myself and to say, to make a, basically to write a profile of my opponent. How does my opponent act? What does my opponent tell me? How to feel, how to talk about others, how to look at myself, how to look at my life, basically everything. He's telling you, he's conducting how to limit you from your next level. So step number one is to admit that there is an opponent. Every single person, every single human being has one. Every single one. Every single one has a different one. That's why you cannot go around and tell people, oh, that's your opponent. Oh, that's your limiting belief. You don't know, because nobody really knows what's happening in other people's minds. None of us do. That's another point. Another very powerful thing that the opponent has been given is the ability to mutate. So, because just like when you achieve a certain level, in order for you to grow, your opponent needs to grow, right? In order for you to achieve your next level. So he's in a constant state of growth. It's an angelic force. It's actually an angel. Angel is not necessarily a baby-like creature with wings, that's sitting on clouds. There are like angels like that. Also, angels are a complete, a huge complex system of energies, of beings, of forces. It's a whole art of studying angels and their forces. It's very, very much more complex than just entity with wings. But they're usually entities with a mission, and they only fulfill their goals. They only fulfill the mission that they're on, sent by the Creator, of course. And one of the things that they do is they can constantly mutate, especially our opponent can constantly change form, change areas that he attacks us in. Not attacks, but kind of limits us in. So once you accomplish one or discover one opponent, he might not be so present in that area. So that's why it's an amazing step to do, to actually identify where your opponent is and to say, oh, that's my opponent, actually, that's not me. I totally realize that now. I totally understand that that's coming from my opponent. So as you do that, you actually disarm him. That's why, in an amazing, it's actually a very spiritual program, I think, Alcoholics Anonymous, AA, that helps people with addictions to alcohol and many different addictions. What's the number one step is to say your name and to say, you know what, I have a problem. I have a drinking problem. I'm an alcoholic. That's one of the hardest steps for people to do. Same thing with any other limiting belief that you have. To say and to come out and say that I have this issue is one of the biggest steps in growth that you can do in your life. In life, not just in spirituality, because technically Kabbalists consider your life useless unless you do spiritual work. So that's number one. And also, like a virus, it's a great analogy that viruses mutate, right? The bacteria and viruses, they constantly mutate. That's why our immune system is unable to fight the virus every year, right? They change and they grow. So a virus actually mutates constantly. That's why every season we might be under weather, because the virus itself mutated. So our immune system doesn't necessarily know how to fight this new virus. Same thing with our opponent. Our opponent also changes depending on us. Depending on his main intention is to help us grow, is to help you and me grow. But we have to take the time to identify and say, this is my opponent. Sometimes some people are very hard on themselves. Some people put themselves in a very rigid boxes, in very limiting boxes, and this is how it needs to be, and this is how it is. That's one form of opponent. A great way to find out about yourself and to build your profile is spiritual growth. Obviously, the journey of self-discovery. Astrology is a great way. Theta healing techniques. I'm a certified theta healer, so I do that with a lot of my clients and students, where I look into a way to identify what their limiting belief is. But the goal of this process is to constantly be aware that there is this force. Do I want to follow it? No. First step is I want to identify it. Very, very, very powerful, very proactive, very sobering experience. And I think I recommended almost in all my classes and to all my students to have this time when you can be by yourself and where you can basically find out where are you going, what is happening with you right now, kind of go inward. Go inside of you and find out what's happening. What am I going through? What am I experiencing? How can I be greater in this situation? How can I be lighter in this situation? How can I be more easygoing? How can I have more flow in this situation? So those are great, great questions to ask yourself in a time when you kind of quarantine and isolate yourself from reality, and you literally should do it for, I think it's an hour at least that we should invest into, where you do not look at your phone, you're not engaging with anyone in conversation, you're totally in your space, and where you can ask yourself these questions. How is my opponent limiting me right now? What is he telling me in area of relationships, in area with myself, in area of work, in area with me and my emotions, with me and my creator? What am I going through right now? And obviously, we always have the best supporting force, the creator, the ultimate force of giving and sharing is always there to assist us. So the moment I address and say, creator, how is my opponent limiting me right now? What is he trying to make me believe, do, experience, feel? And the creator is always there to help us, always. So that's a little bit on about the limiting beliefs. And this week is a huge, the Kabbalah is derived and find the energy of the week from what's called the weekly portion. And this weekly portion is the portion where where a huge spiritual entity, Jacob, experiences and comes face to face with his opponent and with his limiting beliefs, with his limiting system. And he spends, it says that he doesn't stop until he fully discovers it, until he fully realizes it. And the beautiful lesson from that whole story is the story where he finally overcomes his limiting beliefs, and then he sees that it's an angelic force. And long story short, he asks, "What's your name?" Jacob asks the angel, and the angel says, "Why do you need to know my name?" And that's the answer. Because he's always going to tell you, what's the point? Why do you want to find out your limiting beliefs? Why do you want to find out the limiting force? What do you need that for? What's the point? Just be like everyone else. Look at the world. Nobody's investing in their spirituality. Nobody's trying to grow. Nobody's trying to, find themselves and improve themselves. People are just living, and everyone is having a great life, and everyone is doing fine. Look at all the successful people or all the celebrities, etc. What are they invested into spiritual growth? And they seem very happy, right? That's not the secret of success. That's his number one tool. One of his ultimate tools is to make you look at the world and look at other people. It's a very Taurus trait. Just give you an astrological tip. Tauruses love that. Love that perspective. That's why if a Taurus goes on a spiritual journey, they are very spiritual. They can be very, very spiritual people. So, and I don't know, Julia, if you want to chip in and add something, but you also wanted to add the point about when we receive answers and we don't like what we hear, right? Or
yes. So I often have conversations with people where, and even in my personal life, where we do everything that we need to do, and it seems like we're doing the right things, and we either creating something or applying for something, or we asking a question, and we expecting certain results, thinking that I've done everything right. Why wouldn't I get those results? Why wouldn't it be this way, right? But then with absolutely no logic attached to it, no justice attached to it, we get an answer, and the answer is no. So sometimes we choose not to hear the answer, and sometimes we hear the answer and the answer brings us down. So I'm asking question, how do we stay strong? How do we grow? how do we make the best out of the answers that we don't want to receive and we receive them? Don't want to hear and we receive them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's an amazing question. Such a great question, because it happens to everyone and it happens to us all the time, right? And
it could be even relationships or friendship. Sure. Like you want to person and the person is like no, or you want to get that approval and the answer is no, but like why not? What?
Yeah.
What is going?
Probably the simplest answer and the simplest thing that we really need to understand is the power of letting go. Power of letting go of our expectations, that this is how it needs to be and this is how it would be the best way and this is how it would be the perfect way. And we want to understand that a lot of times what we put in the box says is the best is actually not the best for us, for other people, etc. Maybe they're not ready, maybe we're not ready, maybe the world is not ready. There's many different reasons, but the spiritual attribute of letting go is a very powerful way to grow. It's a very, very strong and high level of consciousness when you can say that I let go of my expectations. Because my favorite word, ultimately, you have three main relationships that you should be working on, which is your relationship with the Creator, your relationship with yourself, and a relationship with your, if you have a significant partner in life, right? So there's really nothing in this world that you can get from in your life that will affect any of these three, actually. If you are having a difficulty with the answer that you received, it probably has something to do with your expectations and probably our ego, most likely. Most likely our ego, because we see that this is how it needs to be.
So here is the question, is this a limitation? Is this a limiting belief? The fact that I think this is how it should be. So isn't it a direct limitation? Direct expression limitation.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Once you get this answer of no, and it makes you frustrated, it makes you upset and angry and etc., you are taken out of your equilibrium, right? You're not able to accept it with a calm, open heart and, peaceful state of mind. That means it takes you out of the equilibrium. That means it's something that will help you grow spiritually. And then you can ask yourself and say, okay, so what is this about? What about this situation, this scenario that's making me upset? That's making me reactive? That's making me, go into this mode where I'm not happy, right? So you can ask yourself and say, okay, so what was I expecting really from this person? Was I expecting from this person approval? Was I expecting from this person respect, honor, love, etc.? So it could a lot to do with the relationship with you and yourself. And then you can say maybe it's a relationship with you and the Creator, etc. But most likely when we get upset that way, it's a relationship between us and ourselves.
And what if, is it a conversation with an opponent, basically? Is it opponent telling me like this is the best thing for you? Or is it?
Yes. Yeah. He's always going to tell you to, what do you mean? They're so unintelligent. They don't know what is best for them. The world doesn't know, God doesn't know, etc. So this is the moment where we very much zoom in and focus into a small picture and think that it needs to be this way, and we're really disconnecting from the big picture in this world. So the more I'm connected to small picture, the more I'm limited, boxed in, and I will be upset by different results that don't match what I want. The more I can connect it to the big picture, the easier it's going to be for me to accept things that necessarily don't go my way. And it's a constant kind of dance that you gotta go between the small picture, which is something that we all want, and we want to be specific in what we want, and also the big picture, which is letting go and knowing that no matter what, everything will work out and everything is going to be amazing in our life. So it's a beautiful. Some people are naturally more connected to big picture. Some people are very much connected to small picture. So it's a really it's an art and it's an exercise to be going back and forth. By the way, just wanted to add. So the full moon that's coming up, it's coming up in 2 days. Very spiritual, powerful day, kabbalistically, energetically, astrologically, etc. And it's a great day for letting go, because Gemini moon is very, very detached from emotions. Very easy for them to move on and move to something next. They don't dwell. They don't, they don't sit on the emotions and like, oh, why? What is this? They're so quick. Gemini is the quickest sign of the zodiac. And when you have this connection of the moon in Gemini and the sun in Sagittarius, it's very, very wise, very intellectual, very deep, and can help all of us let go very easily and understand that, you know what, there might be another perspective. Probably Gemini's biggest power is the ability to have many different perspectives and be literally in 2 places at the same time. So it's such an incredible ability that we can draw and download for ourselves for the rest of our life, this ability to be in detachment and to say, you know what, I was expecting this answer, I was expecting this situation, I didn't get it, it makes me upset, I acknowledge it, but I'm open to understanding that this actually might be the best scenario, that it might not be what I was thinking is the best. So it's a very, very spiritual connection that we're going to have on Tuesday night, I think Monday night.
Yeah. Yes. So would it be fair to say that one of when we ask ourselves, how's my opponent is limiting me right now? And as a support moment for ourselves, we are in a space where we say to ourselves, the creator is always here to help. Would it be fair to say that when we do that, we actually zooming out? We actually are connecting to the bigger picture, and we're stepping out of the limitation just by connecting to the bigger picture of what is happening.
Yeah, exactly.
And sometimes we may not see the bigger picture, right? But
yeah. And what I meant by the relationships with the creator, ourselves, etc., is that when we don't get what we want, it's gonna help us grow in a different way, in a much more powerful way than we thought. We're here much on the bigger mission of spiritual growth, right, and advancement. And when things don't go our way, it's actually the time when we can grow the most. It's not that you don't grow the most when things are just flowing, and obviously that's also great, and we always want that. But when something happens not in our perspective how it should be, this is the time when you can grow so much more than when things are just flowing and going in your way. Your ultimate growth happens in the moments when things are not going your way.
Yeah, so this is perfect. And this is exactly why I think I was bringing up this question, because this is the key.
Yeah.
This is the key. This is how we grow, and this is how we are guided.
Yeah.
This is how we're being guided. So if the answer is no, it's a guidance.
It's exactly. And again, going back to that moment that whenever I'm taken out of my equilibrium, my balance, my happy space, this is the moment when I can see, oh, why does that shatter or move my certainty in that? Why does that move my belief that everything is for the good? Why? So, and again, this week we have this peak, an amazing opportunity to really connect with the ability to really understand things, you know, because we are intellectual beings also. We're emotional, we're intellectual, we're spiritual beings. And the moon in Gemini is all about intellect. It's very intellectual. So it gives you an ability to come out of your emotional state, out of emotional, you know, whether it be bad or good, and kind of look at it from a bigger perspective and see, oh, so this makes me upset. So I can say, okay, so why does that make me so upset? What's the worst thing about that? What's the worst thing about that? And how can I make it work for myself? How can I make it so this is actually serving me instead of what I assume now is that it's limiting me? Because it's about perspective, right? So if I'm seeing it as something bad, that means I'm seeing that that's my perspective right now, right? And there's so many different perspectives. And I can also ask, that's an interesting, you know, there's also the important thing of like steps of where you are. If you're just experiencing it, the best thing to say, it's an interesting perspective that I have. It's an interesting perspective, but it's a perspective, you know. It could be, do I know the big picture of the situation 100%? No, probably not. But this is just a perspective. And I can ask, oh, what are different perspectives about this?
Yeah, this is great. This is really great because it gives control. It puts control right back into our hands.
Yeah.
And it puts us back into a seat of being a creator instead of being a cause, instead of being an effect.
Totally.
Yeah. And even when things don't go our way, we don't have to lose the driving of our cars, our lives. Right?
Yeah. You just gotta either slow down or
make a turn, put the gas in.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love this. This is a really deep topic, and we can talk about it for hours, I feel. Because every one of us have experienced this one way or another. And we are experiencing it all the time in our smaller ways, and especially in the worldwide, what's happening. If we reflect in the world, what's happening in the world, a lot of people are saying absolutely no to the result of the election. And some people say, yes, this is the results of the election. But do we really know?
Yeah, exactly. And does it really affect so much our spiritual growth?
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. Maybe for some people it could be. I'm not saying, I don't want to disrespect anyone and say that it's totally doesn't affect people's spirituality, but in a big picture, being spiritual only depends on you and yourself. You know, it doesn't really matter who's sitting at that chair, you know, and at that desk. It's not necessarily going to affect how I am growing spiritually. It's two different things. You know, so if my goal is spiritual growth, development, etc., thank God we're living in an amazing world where there's very little limits placed on our practices, beliefs, etc. We're more or less living in a very, very advanced spiritually open society that that allows us to practice, believe almost anything we want. So that's the more further away you take the problem, that this is the problem, and pointing it out and saying that it's so far, and if that will be fixed, my life is going to be better, the more further away you are from the truth. The more I understand that the more I work on myself, the better I become. That will help me grow.
Yeah. So, and then there's someone who's asking a question, and maybe we can end today with a question before we go into meditation. What are some of the tools you suggest to heal that opponent once you identify it? I'm not sure if the heal that opponent is the way of thinking about it, but what do you think?
So step one is identification. Step one. That's an essential. You have to identify that this is how you limit yourself. You allow yourself to be limited. Step two is to find out, you should be on some spiritual journey. You should have some sort of a spiritual base in your life. We are, again, living in such an advanced society where you have so many different options. I obviously use the wisdom of Kabbalah, and I ask myself, okay, so why am I listening to this? Why am I allowing this thought to be what governs my behavior, my emotions, etc.? How does it serve me? The next step is I use meditation, obviously, and I start communicating with the light, with the creator, and asking, okay, so creator, how can I use this? How can I be better in this, right? And also I go in the space where how am I without this? How would I feel? How would I experience life? What would I experience? How would I feel, basically? That's the key point, is how would I feel if I didn't behave this way? If I didn't have this limiting belief? What would I be? And I meditate to be in that state more and more. So it's identifying how my opponent limits me, and then seeing how would I be without this limitation, and actually being in that state more and more. So I'm kind of going into the future of myself and bringing that future self to me now. So thinking, okay, if I wasn't so attached and so limited by this person's behavior or this person's words, how would I be? How would I feel? What kind of a person would I be? If I was able to do everything on my list that I consider is important to do, how would I feel? What kind of a person would I be? If I already had everything that I wish I had, how would I be also? So it's kind of being in that state of the future self and bringing that future self to me now. Because in spirituality, we know, like in quantum physics, there is no time, space, or motion. Especially there's no time. And time is an illusion. So we are actually, spirituality is the same. Quantum is very close to spirituality. So it means I can bring my future self to me right now. I can bring that version of myself that is not limited by this from the future to me now. I can kind of like get it on the loan and start already living in that life. So it's another great way to do that.
Yes. So it's like there are more questions coming in. Like it's obviously an important conversation.
Yes. You want to?
I'm just gonna read more. Is my experience that identifying a reactive point isn't always enough to let it go? It may be a deeper old pain or hurt, great, etc. We're trying to avoid changing deep issues that may take more awareness. Maybe there's some words that are missed in this comment, but is my experience that is identifying a reactive point isn't always enough to let go?
Depends. It depends on the experience, depends on the person, depends on your willingness, how ready you are. Because sometimes people are not always ready right away just to let go of things, because they don't understand how to live a life without it. Maybe they believe that that all people are bad, etc., or something like that.
Yes.
Based on a certain experience, and it might not be that you can just do it right away, but you want to take steps. You want to take slow but steady steps towards your goal. So if your goal is to be connected more to the truth, to reality, to what's really happening, then the first step is to identify it. First step is to see, okay, you know what, I have this pattern, I have these emotions that I experience, I have these beliefs, I have these thoughts, and they might be connected to a traumatic experience that happened to me when I was, in my younger years.
Yes.
So that could be. And then, but you want to kind of set yourself in a big picture, also a goal. You see that, yes, it is limiting me. I'm not ready to do it now. But you know what? I am looking towards discovering more, learning more about it, in order that eventually I'll be in a space where it's very easy for me to let it go. Not only that, the best way to let go of things is obviously also to help other people let go of situations and similar scenarios that you have.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Obviously, it's a big conversation. It's an important conversation. And thank you, everyone who is participating, joining us, either replaying it or watching it live with us. Do leave us questions because they help us to and guide us to design our next and be prepared for our next broadcast. And we will reply to your questions as well. So don't hesitate to drop more questions in the comments.
Especially if you hesitate, ask the question. That's
Yes,
your
especially if you hesitate, like go right against it.
yeah.
Yes, I love that. Do we have a moment for a quick meditation?
Yeah, let's do a quick meditation.
Yes.
And we'll read some ancient texts to connect with the energy. So the meditation is always very simple. We are connecting with ourselves, going deeper. It's a theta healing meditation. And we also involve Kabbalistic tools, Kabbalistic texts to help us connect with the energy. So you want to be in yourself. You want to feel your energy in your heart. And you want to feel energy coming from the earth through the bottom of your feet, all the way to the top of your head. Be comfortable, relax. Breathe through your abdomen. Don't use your shoulders, chest, or upper body for breathing. Use just your abdomen. And you want to see this energy coming through the top of your head and forming a beautiful ball of light. And then you want to pretend and imagine you are in this ball of light. Then you want to send this ball of light above your head and travel through the entire universe to the edge of the universe, and going through layers of lights, coming to a very bright light, coming to a golden light, and then a jello-like substance, and then entering the plane of the Creator. And here we want to become one with this, with our maker, with our Creator. Want to unify with this energy. I want to ask for some downloads of consciousness, of energy, of emotions. So the first one, we want to receive the ability to identify and to separate ourselves from our limiting beliefs, and to understand that we are able to transform, change anything and everything in our life. So if you want that download, say yes. And well, another thing that we spoke about is letting go of our expectations and being okay with things going differently than we expected. So if you want to be able to let go, detach from expectations, release our beliefs of how things need to be, how things should be. If you want those downloads to be more free, to be more connected to big picture goals in your life and not to be so limited by little things not going our way, say yes. And obviously, another amazing tool that we want to amplify is the aspect of appreciation, to appreciate more and more things in our life, to appreciate the tiniest things in our life, to appreciate the people that are closest to us, to understand that the relationships we have with the closest people are the most priceless things in this world. So if you want that, also say yes. And we're also going to read some ancient texts to connect with the energy that the light of the Zohar offers us. And ask for the guidance for the Creator to guide us to open our eyes, to help us understand what is it in ourselves that limits us and how we can use it for our growth. מה יורך דעצר הרע כיוון דחמי דילית ברנש קיים לכבלית ולגחה בית קרבה מיד ותתפשחו בגינדו לאומר שקיווה עמי ותתפשחו בגינדו בגין כך שליט יצר הרע אל דבר נש יתקיים לית וקשת לית לבושוי מסלסל ושערה ותתפסחו בגינדו לאומר שקיווה עמי, ידבק עמי. And before you open your eyes, you want to rinse yourself in this energy, connect and surround yourself with this blissful, beautiful energy of the Creator with unconditional love, abundance, compassion, so you can magnetize and bring more of that into your life. And when you're ready, open your eyes.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you, Miki. Thank you, Julia. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Yes, we're going to be back next Sunday at 12, and we're going to connect to the energy and align our consciousness with the energy of the week as we do every Sunday. Please join us live. If you know of anyone who can possibly benefit or enjoy it, please share it with them. It's a beautiful way to share energy with people. Also, if you're watching it on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel so you get alerts. And do leave us your comments. We love to hear from you. And with that, we get a lot of people sending us hearts and emojis here. So everyone who is sending us that right now, thank you so much as well. And we know you're with us. We're feeling you. Have a beautiful week. And remember, Michael, and Michael's going to do the last line, right? That's your line.
Yes, we're amazing. You are amazing. I'm amazing. We're all amazing. Thank you. Thank you. I love that.
You make it. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everybody.